application will be having some UI, so that will be called your application, correct? So I mean your user interface. So similarly, your laptop is nothing but your EC2 server in AWS, and then your application is nothing but Matillion here, and the UI is same, you know, in both the environments. So now um, we'll be going to our course curriculum. So in our course curriculum, we'll be covering Matillion introduction. So which covers what is Matillion, why we need to use Matillion, and how Matillion works. And then we'll be seeing different products offered from Matillion. After that, we'll be seeing Matillion architecture. So the first one we have seen here, right, which is single tier architecture. But we'll be theoretically seeing how multi-tier architecture also, you know, looks like. So after that, we'll be covering creating and exploring Matillion Hub account, where you can create your like you know, if you have GitHub, for example, right? So if you want to host your code, you need to create your GitHub account, right? Similarly, if you need to use your Matillion server, right, or if you want to launch your Matillion server, you need to have an account where everything will be managed, like your pricing information or whatever it is, right? So all those things. Okay. Yeah. So all those things will be covered. Um, just a sec. Okay. So before I go further, right? Till now, any questions, guys? Or if you feel like if I'm going too fast, you can stop me and then say like, hey, can you go slower? I'm more than happy to, you know, accommodate that.
No, sir.
Okay, so yeah. So now, once we creates and explores Matillion Hub account, we'll be seeing how Matillion charges us. Okay, that is nothing but pricing overview. After we cover all these things, right? If required, we'll be creating a Snowflake account, which is our data warehouse, and then AWS free tier accounts. Basically, in our course, you no need to create your AWS free tier account, because we'll be providing the, you know, required AWS access and all. But you may need to create your Snowflake account, which is 30, you know, I think 30 days free trial one. So you can do, or you can get your hands dirty by doing all the experiments and all. Okay. Next, we'll be seeing Matillion setup in AWS. So as I told, we'll be hosting our AWS account, so you don't need to worry about them. Once we covers all these things, I'll be walking you through you know, the Matillion console, so that you will get used to the feel and vibe of Matillion user interface, so that you will be feeling more comfortable with it. Okay. Once you feel like, okay, I'm good with the Matillion console and all, we'll be setting up a Matillion project where you will be working on our project. Okay. So once we sets up, then we'll be seeing how to set up your environments in Matillion. So environment is nothing but your connection details. Like, okay, I have a server, or I have my Matillion in AWS, correct? So that Matillion server needs to communicate with data warehouse, which is your Snowflake, right? And then it needs to connect with AWS as well, AWS different services as well, right? So all those things will be bundled up into one particular area that is called environment in Matillion. And then from there, we'll be accessing all the services which are all needed. Okay. So after that, we'll be covering different kinds of jobs in Matillion, like orchestration job, transformation job, right? So the orchestration job is nothing but the heart of your pipeline. Okay. The each and everything is called as pipeline here. So the end-to-end process is called pipeline. Okay. So the orchestration job is like your driver, and then the transformation job is nothing but your actual data manipulation and all. Okay. So once we cover that, we'll be seeing the Matillion components part one, where we'll be covering basic basic Matillion components which we use in our day-to-day life in work. Once we are comfortable and then we see okay how this works and what it does, right? So then we'll be reaching to our first milestone where we'll be creating a table using Matillion in Snowflake, and then using that particular table will be loaded using our Matillion job. Okay, that this particular job is the basic or is your base for all your Matillion learnings. So that, I mean, because you will be doing this particular activity hundreds of times in your working environment. Okay, that's why we'll be covering it as a first milestone so that your base will be strong. Okay, once we are completed with that, right, we'll be seeing overview of your task panel. So there you can see your job status and then how to cancel the job, right? How to see the logs and all. So once we cover that, we'll be covering the variables. So variables are pretty much important in anywhere. Okay, so we have different kinds of variables like environment variables, job variables, grid variables, scalar variables, and then default variables. So here I'll be dividing three variables into one part, and then the second two variables are into another part, so that you will be having a pure differentiation between them, sorry, among them, and then how to use and then when to use this. Okay, so in between, right, in between these variables, I'll be covering working with iterators. So iterators are nothing but your looping things, like you have to do the same activity multiple times, then you will be using iterators. So once we covers that, I'll be explaining how to use scalar variables and then default variables. So once we covers all these things, we'll be covering or your shared jobs. So these shared jobs are plays a crucial role in the Matillion development, because if you have some particular functionality which can be used in hundreds of jobs, so that, I mean, you don't need to do all the development in 100 different jobs, right? You can bundle it into one particular job, and then that job can be used across all your environments. Okay, so coming to next one, that is administration menu. So there we'll be covering how to manage the users, how to manage your credentials, how to manage your environments, right? Pretty much administration stuff we'll be covering it there. So once we covers that, we'll be covering understanding the Matillion components and its uses part 2, where we'll be going one level deep into the day-to-day components like your Python script, your RDS query components, right, and your iterators, and then your table to metadata entry, and then table to grid iterator. So those kind of stuff will be covered in part 2, and then I have a set of components that I need to cover, right? That will be shown in the course itself. Okay, so after that we'll be creating in our AWS RDS server, so which will be used for your second milestone to be reached. Okay, there we'll be reading the data from AWS RDS server and then loading that data into your Snowflake, and then you can do all your transformations and all. Okay, so once we covers the second milestone, right, we'll be going to our success and failure handling, which means let's say there is a failure of a particular job in particular component area, right, component place. Then you will be sending an email to the stakeholders saying that hey, particular job got failed, and then you have to take a look at this particular component. Okay, so that way your business will be notified, oh okay, this particular job got failed, and then I have to look into it, right? Or your L1, L2, L3 support people can know, okay, this got failed or this got success, right? That we'll be covering there. And then we'll be seeing workspace versioning, which is lot of importance, I mean, which plays a lot of important role in the day-to-day life development in the organizations, because in one particular team there will be a lot of team members, right? Each and everyone will be using their own workspace, that's like their own system. Okay, so there you will be doing all your developments, and then you will be pushing all your codes to Git. Okay, that also will be covered how and all.